Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Wednesday, joining you for the first time in quite a while. Well, I've been getting lots of messages asking where I am, but I'm back now. So yeah, I have been on holiday. If you didn't know that, I did say before I went, but yeah, I am back now getting back into the swing of things. All eyes on Friday night. A big game against Southampton. Apologies for my voice, a bit croaky, but I've come back from holiday feeling dog rough. I'm trying to get through the next couple of days, hopefully feeling a little bit better ahead of Friday night's game. I'll be at Colney tomorrow, Mikel Arteta's press conference in the morning ahead of that Southampton game, where I'm sure we'll be faced with quite a few questions about just what the mood has been like at Colney this week after obviously the disappointment of that game against West Ham. Look, what happens? I go away, everything was good. I go away, 2 games, 2 goal leads, 4 points dropped. How costly those points are going to prove to be, well, time will tell. We'll find out at the end of the season. But certainly Arsenal have now lost that little safety net they had at the top of the Premier League, and it's all about how they respond. There's been lots of talk that I've been kind of reading while I've been away about have Arsenal bottled it? What's gone on? Why have they allowed these leads to slip? And to have given such a great position away against Liverpool and against West Ham. Now, I think both games you have to kind of look at them sort of separately. Now, the Liverpool game, the Arsenal brilliant, first of all, for the first half hour. And then obviously they got the goal just before half time. That changed. I don't really think the Granit Xhaka stuff was anything. I know this is going over old ground a little bit, but I haven't had the chance to talk about it while I've been away. But I don't think that was anything that changed it. I think it was just the fact that Liverpool scored. It was just coincidence they scored about a minute after that incident with Xhaka. That hadn't got the crowd up that much that Liverpool immediately went down the pitch and scored. It was just, I think it was more coincidental, and the fact that Liverpool was so much better in the second half, it wasn't down to Xhaka. It was down to the fact they scored just before half time. And look, 2-2 against Liverpool at Anfield is not a bad result. It's the first time Arsenal got a draw there in ages. Yes, it's frustrating to have conceded so late and to have been 2 goals up, but I think most times you take a draw at Anfield, you just do, because Liverpool, yes, they haven't had the greatest seasons, but they're such a good side at home, even now, even this season, and they're a very tough team to beat at Anfield. It's just, so I was obviously disappointed in the way Arsenal had sort of conceded so late, and they'd held on for so long to concede, but it wasn't. I still don't think it was the worst result. I think at the start of the game, if someone offered you a 2-2 draw at Liverpool, you'd probably take it. It was just the way the context of the game sort of went on, that it made it more disappointing. But what happened against West Ham, that was awful. It was so frustrating to watch. Where I was on holiday, I actually missed the start. I walked in, it was 2-0. Within about a minute, Arsenal giving away the penalty. So basically, I missed all the good stuff and basically had to watch the horror show that unfolded after that. And that was really disappointing. To have been that much in control and to have thrown it away the way Arsenal did, it was so frustrating. Really poor performance, I thought, from what I saw of that game. And Arsenal will be absolutely kicking themselves that they've managed to let those 2 points slip away at West Ham. That had to be a game they won to get into that position, 2-0 up so early on, being so in such complete control. And then to throw it away was really frustrating. But I don't think Arsenal bottled it. There's been lots of talk about Arsenal bottling. Obviously, rival fans have enjoyed the last week, and they've all been throwing those accusations around. I don't think Arsenal bottled it. I thought Jamie Carragher was really good when he spoke about it on Monday night when he was doing his analysis of the sort of situation. He said, look, if Arsenal had bottled it, they wouldn't have gone out and played so well in the first half hour at Anfield. They wouldn't have gone out and played so well in the first half hour against West Ham. If you're nervous, if you're feeling the pressure, then you don't go and start the way Arsenal had done. They played with the same sort of freedom they had for the rest of the season. I think Arsenal's big issue, especially against West Ham, was just complacency. It was too easy. They took their eye off the ball and they let West Ham back into the game. And when you do that in the Premier League, no matter who you're playing against, you're going to cause yourself big problems. And that's what Arsenal did. The incident that led to the penalty, Thomas Partey trying that ridiculous flick over Declan Rice. I thought, again, Carragher was spot on. He said at 0-0 he would never have tried that, but it was 2-0. It was just so comfortable that he tried this trick and he got punished, and that let West Ham back in the game, and the whole game changed on that one incident. And so I don't think Arsenal bottled it by any means. Certainly from what I've seen while I've been away, I just think they just found it a little bit too easy, especially at West Ham. Not so much against Liverpool, because Liverpool, as I've said, it's a different kettle of fish playing at Anfield, and Liverpool great in that second half. But against West Ham, to let them back into the game when they were so in control of it, and then to miss the penalty as well, just, hopefully we're not going to look back at that as the decisive couple of minutes of the season from an Arsenal point of view in terms of the title. The Saka miss and then the Bowen goal straight afterwards. It was, it was tough to take, no doubt about it. And I think what Arteta has to do now is and the challenge he faces is just to pick the players up again. He knows, he will know that they hadn't bottled it and they weren't feeling the pressure. I just don't think you can look at those performances and the way Arsenal started the game and think that was the case. It was just purely, for me, they got complacent. They just thought it was too easy and they took their eye off the ball. And in a way, that's even more criminal than feeling the pressure, I think, because feeling the pressure is just human nature. It's it comes with the territory, especially when you've got someone like Manchester City chasing you down. But to get yourself into a position that they did and then throw it away because they just got too complacent and started doing silly things, I almost think that's worse than the whole bottling it type debate that has been going on. But let me know what you guys think, because I've missed all your views over the last week or so. I really want to know how you're feeling about the situation ahead of Friday night's game against Southampton and what's gone on at Arsenal since I've been away. Let me know, as always, in the comments below. Okay, so injury-wise, and I think this was also a big thing for Arsenal, especially in the game against West Ham, once the game shifted and Arsenal had sort of lost that momentum that they'd built up at the start of the game. Once that momentum halted and West Ham got themselves back into the game and started to believe in themselves and started throwing getting the long throws into the box, pinning Arsenal back with the direct play that they were doing, Arsenal just had no real outlet, and I think the injuries to Zinchenko and Saliba was just really key to that. They're two of Arsenal's most progressive passers, and you could see that. And Arsenal, when they started to come under pressure, they just couldn't really cope. They didn't have that extra body in midfield to give them a little bit of control. I thought Thomas Partey was a little bit isolated at times, and I thought he struggled. He didn't perform well. I know there was a lot of talk on social media at the time about why he'd been taken off, but I have to say I thought he should have gone off because, and I thought Arsenal improved a lot when Trossard and Jorginho came on. I thought that was when they started to get control back of the game, because up to that point I thought they just had very little control in midfield, and I think Zinchenko not being there was a big blow. Look, I love Kieran Tierney. He's a great fullback. But if you have him in the team, I think you've got to change the way you want to play, because I don't think you can just bring him into the team and say, all right, Kieran, you're in, Zinchenko's out, I want you to play the same way as Zinchenko, because it's just not part of his game. And I think he really struggles when he's asked to do that. And Arsenal lacks some control in midfield when that happens. And I thought that was definitely the case against West Ham. So, and sort of adding to that, I think it was amplified by the fact Saliba wasn't there as well, because suddenly you've got two of Arsenal's best passers at the ball, two of the players who really progress and help them dominate in midfield and break the lines with their passing ability. Without either of those two in the team, they really struggled to get any sort of control, and I think that was really important. And I don't think Saliba's going to be back for West Ham. It's really hard to sort of comment on the Saliba injury at the moment, because from what I've been told is that they're really trying to manage him and they do want him to play a big part in this run-in, but they just can't do it until they're absolutely sure he's going to be right. It's just trying to manage this situation with that as best as they can. I don't think there's any way, if we see Saliba again, say he plays against Manchester City, say they get him fit enough to play against Man City, I don't think it would be the case of then seeing Saliba stay in the team until the end of the season. From what it sounds like, it is very much a situation they are trying to manage and trying to get whatever out of him that they can between now and the end of the season, and whether that will be against Manchester City and Newcastle away, we'll have to wait and see. Personally, I still think it'd be a big risk, because he hasn't played for so long, to then suddenly throw him in against Erling Haaland against Manchester City when he hasn't played for near enough a month and is clearly not going to be 100% fit. I think that could be a very big risk in itself. But he's such an important player, clearly, and he makes Arsenal so much better than maybe it's a risk that's worth taking. But so we'll see if Saliba's going to be available for Man City. We saw him in Mohamed El-Neni's clip on Instagram yesterday. He was on the exercise bike, so he wasn't training outside or anything, but he was on the exercise bike with El-Neni, who's recovering from his injury, obviously, and was trying to stay fit and trying to get himself in the best possible position. Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And Saliba wants to play again this season. There's no doubt about that. And and he's doing the best that he can to make sure he will be available for some of the games. So it's a difficult one. It's one Arsenal are going to have to manage in right through to the end of the season, but I can't see there's any way he's going to be available against Southampton. It would be potentially, they might get him to a sort of state where he could feature against City, but a lot of things will have to go right for that to happen. So we'll wait and see. Clearly he's so important though for Arsenal, and like I said earlier, if it might be a risk, but maybe they'll decide it is a risk worth taking, especially for those two big away games coming up against City and Newcastle. Zinchenko definitely more positive. I'm expecting Zinchenko to play against Southampton on Friday night. He did travel with the squad to West Ham. He was there. And the expectation is he's going to be all right. We'll wait and see what Mikel Arteta says tomorrow. But certainly from what I've been told, that there was they could have patched him up and even played him against West Ham, but they chose not to err on the side of caution. And the expectation is that he will be back to play on Friday night. And I think Arsenal will certainly look a lot better because of that, having him in the team, and they'll get a lot more control back in that midfield with him there. Okay, I almost don't want to talk about this because it just annoys me a lot, but I feel like I've got to say something about it. And the mascot farce that has been going on, this social media pylon, the totally unnecessary social media pylon, honestly, it's such a mad thing to sort of sit back and watch happen. And it's just really frustrating. I mean, if none of you are aware of this, and I'm sure you all are because it's been all over the internet and for days now since the West Ham game, was that video of Arsenal players signing the mascot shirt before the West Ham game, and everyone was slagging them off because they didn't interact with the girl at all. No one spoke to her, which again actually wasn't true. When you actually listen to the video, people are speaking to the girl and the dad. You just can't really hear it that well. They're not totally ignoring her. So some of them are. It still doesn't look great, the video, by any means, but the girl's having a great time. She's smiling the whole way through it. She's like starstruck at all these players signing their shirts. She's certainly not having a bad time. And it was just one clip of her day overall, and Arsenal got absolutely hammered on it. Social media pylon has just been incessant for a couple of days now. Even Nick Knowles was getting involved. It's just mental. And it's got to such a point that it's just taken on built up this huge head of steam. Everyone's having their say without anyone actually having a clue about what the situation actually is. They don't know. They're just commenting on one brief clip from a whole day. And you see other clips of what went on. You see in the tunnel Arsenal players all coming out before the game, high-fiving all of the West Ham mascots, and they walk up to the Arsenal mascot. Martin Odegaard goes over to her, speaks to her, smiles with her. She's just starstruck. And she came out smiling, did all the stuff on the pitch. She had a great day, an amazing day. Her dad's had to take to social media and said, look, she had an amazing day, despite everything that's been said. And then it turns out, again, her dad took to social media yesterday and said that he's had reporters knocking on his door. They've somehow found out, reporters have found out where they live and have gone knocking on their door to try and continue with the story. And it's just so mad. And it's just all come from this totally unnecessary social media pylon from people who didn't actually have a clue about what went on, but were just commenting on one little clip. And, this girl had a great day. Her dad said it, and now she's had to deal with all this noise that's come about it, and it's just cast a cloud over this day, which was which would have been a special day for her. And Arsenal just don't deserve that sort of criticism. It just annoys me because they're so good with their mascots. Obviously the game at West Ham was an away game, so West Ham were the guys looking after the mascots and controlling the mascots for this game. But when it's at the Emirates and what Arsenal do with mascots, it's absolutely incredible. They give them so much, they treat them so well. They don't charge either. They're not one of the clubs that charge for being mascots. They treat them so well. There's so much for them to do. They're meeting all the players. They go into the change room, meet all the players. They get signed stuff. They go out on the pitch. The Gunnosaurus is there, and they just do so much. And even after the game, when I'm stood in the mix zone waiting to speak to the players, you can see there's other groups of children that have been picked by the club to come in and stand there, and they all get to meet the players, and the players all come through. They talk to them, sign shirts, have pictures taken with them and their families. Arsenal works so hard on that this year. It's something they're really trying to do in terms of bringing in fans to meet the players after the game, especially children. And it just annoys me seeing stuff like that. I know a lot of people will be going, oh, PR and all this rubbish, and it's not the case at all. If Arsenal are doing something bad, I'll say it, but this is not a case of Arsenal doing something bad. The video didn't look great, I admit that, but it's just snowballed into this huge thing that it really didn't need to be. And I just think it's a real shame because the girl and her family have had to deal with the impact really of this huge social media pylon that has happened because of what people have been saying without actually having a clue about the situation. But there you go. That's me done on that little rant of mine, and that's me done for today. So thank you very much for watching. It's good to be back. Yeah, hopefully Friday night we'll come back and we'll get Arsenal back to winning ways. Like I said, I'll be at London Colney tomorrow for Mikel Arteta's press conference, so keep your eyes peeled for anything from that, and then all guns blazing to Friday night. Huge game at the Emirates, Arsenal versus Southampton. Have a great day, everyone. Speak to you soon.